everybody, Blaine Austin here at Sewing Machines Plus, and welcome to day 4 of their Serger Soiree. And we're so excited that you're here today. It's going to be another day of baby lock, and we've got a great lineup in store for you today. But before we get started, I got to say a big shout out to some of the SMP Nation tuned in right now. We have Aline Costella, we have So Fizz over in Arizona. We have Annie F. in New York, Sandra Parker in North Carolina, Michelle Norris over in Florida. We have Becky Calvin in Montana, and we have Iva Anderson out here in California watching. And then Kyle's putting a bunch of y'all up on the screen, I see as well. Betsy B., Washington State.
Welcome, Betsy.
So look at all that. Arlene. So good morning to you too. Lana, good morning. So we're so excited y'all tuned in. And, this has been a great event so far. And today, we're kind of bringing the big dogs in, aren't we, Kyle?
Yeah.
Got the big dogs.
Top of the line today.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Triumph is going to be in the lineup today. And I know everybody loves that one. But, a couple dates I want to just remind everybody about. We've talked about our live auction. We did, it was scheduled for July the 10th, and we started getting some emails, people saying, why don't you go ahead and have it? Well, the reason we were hadn't had it before then, because we try to get enough machines. Like, once we get a collection of machines, we can do it. But we've actually got quite a few machines, so we've decided to move it up. We're going to have it on this month. It's going to be on April the 24th. Now, here's the dilemma. We think that we might have more machines than we thought we were going to have. So now we're looking at adding a second day. So a 2-day auction. So right now, just kind of stay tuned. We'll let you know as soon as we kind of get worked through everything. But for sure, it's going to be on Thursday, the 24th, our live auction. And this is a closed event. You have to be invited to come into it. So basically what happens, we'll send an email out to let everybody know, here's the link to go sign up. Once you go sign up to be in the auction with us, we have to verify that you've made a purchase from SMP. If you've made a purchase, then you're in. And then what we do is we send out, right before the auction, we'll send you out a code that you get in to the auction with. And then you'll be able to bid just by a text message number that we'll put up on the screen. And it works pretty good, doesn't it, Kyle?
Yeah, and you'll be getting your invites, I believe, early next week.
Next week.
Some sign-up stuff.
Okay.
So keep a lookout.
All right, sounds good. So we are going to do that. And what makes up the auction is we have some overstock product. We also have some show models, or event models, as we call. It's things that we've used at an event or at a trade show. And then we also have some demonstration models off the retail store floor. And when we trade those out occasionally, we put those up. And then we also have some trade-in machines. So when we do use a trade-in machine, it would be one of the machines that somebody traded in to get a new one. That is, it'll have to have very low stitch time on it. Very good shape, or we don't put it in the auction. And so everything in the auction, it'll have a full warranty on it, whether it's brand new, used, or whatever it is. It'll have a full warranty by SMP, and we'll cover the manufacturer's warranty on the ones that have been open box. But we got a lot of great products already in there. Kyle and I were looking at the list yesterday, and we're like, wow, we got some really great machines. And that's the great thing about it. You're going to be able to get a better price on that, because we can actually what they call break map, because it's going to be a private event, private sale. And that way we can sell it for whatever we want to, and you'll be part of that. And we'll just, we'll auction a machine off. We'll bring it up on the auction block, and y'all can start bidding on it. And it's a lot of fun. Yeah. Now, there's about a 5-second delay by the time that you hit send on your bid that Kyle gets it. So we have sometimes we get 2 bids in at the exact same time. It works. We've done it for 2 years now. This will be our 3rd year. And so we're super excited about it again. So hope that y'all will join in. So make sure y'all mark that down. That'll be on April the 24th for sure. And then on May 8th, we're going to have my birthday bash, which my birthday is May the 11th. We're going to we always do it the Thursday closest to the birthday. And we'll have a lot of fun that day. Kyle will be in his team. They always come up with some trivia questions. They always get some surprise guests to come on, and so it's a lot of fun. All right, what was that comment?
Oh, it was just saying you'll get your email early next week, just in case anyone didn't hear.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Nancy says she's ready for day 4. Well, Nancy, we are ready as well. And if y'all are already out there, everybody's ready. Let's get this thing going.
All right.
So the very first machine that we're showing this morning, which one is it, Kyle?
It is the. You caught me off guard. Celebrate.
I was thinking that was, but I wasn't going to quite say it. Yeah. So the Celebrate, it's a newer Serger. It came out a few years ago, and this has got a fantastic price point for it being an air threader. That's what the great thing is. And we have a great educator coming in. We have Deb Canham, and she has spent the last 20 years designing and working with her own factory in China, and working as a consultant to the garment factories, improving their quality control through education and development. Since retiring from traveling to China, Deb has focused on the Serger for the home use, designing projects, patterns, courses, and videos to encourage Serger owners to play and develop the confidence with their machines. Her aim is to provide Serger teachers with some fun techniques and base projects. And we are so excited to have her here with us today. Y'all give a big SMP welcome to Deb Canham. Hey, Deb.
Hi, thank you.
Good to see you. It's been a while, and I'm glad to have you back.
Good. And I'm happy to be here and present the Celebrate.
Well, great. We're going to let you just take it away. I know there's a lot to talk about with the Celebrate. Yep. When you get finished up, I'll come back and I'm going to tell them all the specials on it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Well, good morning, everybody. I'm here today and I'm going to introduce you to the Celebrate. And many of you will know that I actually do own a lot of other Sergers, including big ones. So why do I have a Celebrate? Well, partly because I like to know everything about all the machines and I like to help you, but also because I travel. So I have an RV and I go to retreats and classes, and I would much rather carry this machine than my big one when I go away. So I'm going to change you on to my other camera and start showing you what makes this small but mighty machine. So just going to change the camera. It will take a second, but not too long. Right. Whoops, I was moving it just at that moment, of course. So here it is. This is the Celebrate. And you will see a lot of very familiar things with all the Baby Lock machines. This one is a 4-thread serger. It does serger stitches, and it does them very well. The only thing it doesn't do that the big sergers do is it doesn't do the wave stitch and things like that. But there are other stitches you can do on it. For instance, here's a decorative stitch you can do on this machine. So it still has everything it needs to have. So I thought the best thing to do with this would be actually to show you me threading it, because it is an automatic threader. And that is something that people really love, because people sometimes fight with threading. So I'm going to open it up and you can see inside. And another thing with this machine, with some sergers, you have to thread it in a certain order. That's not the case with this one. You can thread it in any order. And while it has automatic threading, it does have manual tensions, but that's not a problem, and I'll get to that. And I might have to turn my fan down because I've got a fan going and all my threads are flying around. So I'm going to move you up just a fraction so you can see the top of the machine. There you go. And I'm going to take this lovely bright orange thread. This is the lower looper. And as I said, you can thread in any order you want. I just tend to always do the same. But I'm going to click it in at the back. Always make sure your foot's up. I've just done that. Click it in the back behind the tension spot there. Come down. And as I said, it's automatic threading. So what I'm going to do is I am going to press this button, and actually my tube's shut instantly, but sometimes you have to turn the hand wheel on the right here towards you. So my tubes are shut and I want to thread the lower looper. So it says upper looper that side, lower looper that side. That's easy. So I'm going to take my thread make sure that my fan doesn't blow it away. And I'm going to put it down the lower looper hole on the right. And then you just press this pump here, and you see how fast it came flying through? So I'm going to leave that dangling about 4 inches. And then I'm going to go on and thread my upper looper. So I have my spool pin on the upper looper. It's this turquoise at the back. You can just see it. I've gone up through the aerial arm, which is out of shot. And then I'm going to click it, listening for the click, click into the upper looper slot. I'm going to move my upper looper button so that is good. And I am going to put my thread down. I have to hold it because of my fan. And there you go. It's gone shooting through, and there it is. So that was pretty easy, wasn't it? So the only thing I have to do now is the needle. And I'm set up for 3-thread overlock wide. So I'm using the left needle, what I call the wide needle. And I'm going to grasp my thread, and I'm going to put it into my tension slot. And this last slot on the left here, I'm going to go under the metal, up over the bar, behind the little section there, and I am ready to thread my needle. Now I'm going to turn this round because this is how it works. I'm going to undo my tubes first because slide that silver lever over, and that opens the tubes. And then I'm going to, can you see just below there's two green lines that have to meet up, one on the machine, one on the hand wheel. So they've met up. I'm going to lower my foot. And then I'm going to take my thread. And on here, this is the automatic needle threader. Now, I'm of an age where this is essential, okay? I don't want to fiddle threading my needles. If I have it to the right, it's going to thread my right needle. If I want to thread my left needle, I will move it to the left. I think it is on the left. So I'm going to bring the needle threader down. You can see it's come down. I'm going to hold on to it, place my thread underneath, and it pulls it through. How simple is that? So I do like that feature. It's kind of pretty essential for me. So I have it all threaded, and that wasn't hard, was it? So I'm going to close it up, and we're going to look at some of the controls on it. So as I say, if you've had a baby lock machine before, it is going to look similar to the others. Oops, just going to pull this out. Clip that under there. Right, it's going to be similar to any others. So let's have a look here. We have here let's go from the top. This is the stitch width. Now with a serger, the width is defined really by which needles you use, but it does move fractionally, and all that actually happens is the knife moves. So if you look here, I don't know how well you can see it. Let's take my foot off so you can have a bit better view. So I'm using the left needle, that's going to give me the widest stitch, and I still have the ability to make it a fraction wider. So this is the knife, and watch, as I move the dial, see how it moves in and out. It doesn't move a whole load, but it moves enough to make us a difference. So I'm going to have it on 7.5, that's the widest. And then if you come down here, you'll see there's a knob here. And this is the knob that moves the knife up and down. So you can lock your knife down if you wish to. Perhaps you're re-sewing over some stitches you don't want to cut. So that just, you turn that knob, move your hand wheel at the side, and the knife will go down. And then this is a very interesting knob, and I'll come back to this because it makes things super easy. It's just the same as on the big machines. You have a set of numbers that are standard numbers, and then you have a set of numbers that are rolled hem numbers. Okay. So what I'm going to do is just go through the other things, and then I'm going to put my foot on in a minute. So here we have the tension dials for the 2 needles and the upper looper and lower looper. And I know this fills people with worry, but look what you get. You get a chart telling you what numbers you need to have those dials on depending on what you are doing stitch-wise. Okay, so you can't go wrong. You just look it up. It's in the manual. And then we have up here, we have a knob that you can turn if you want to loosen the foot pressure. The foot pressure on a thin fabric needs to be tighter than the foot pressure on a very thick fabric. So you can alter it up there. On the side here, we have a thread cutter. And this knob here, if you didn't know, is what I use to bring the needle threader down. So what do we have on this end? We have the differential feed. And nobody's had a Serger before, and this is often a machine that first-time Serger owners purchase. Let me say that this is what makes Sergers so great. Okay, you do not have this on a sewing machine. It basically controls the feed dogs. Can you see how there are 2 sets of feed dogs on Sergers? Sewing machine, you only get 1. So the advantage of the differential feed is if I put it all the way up to 2, these front feed dogs will feed in twice as much fabric as the back feed dogs. And that's when you get gathers. And if I'm working on something like a rolled hem or something like that, if I stretch it down to 0.6, it will stretch the fabric out slightly and stop it from gathering up a bit, which it sometimes does. So I think another reason somebody would have a machine like this is obviously knits. And that's what this differential feed does. It compensates for stretch. So if I was sewing a knit, I'd have it on 1.3. And what it would do is it would feed the fabric in a fraction faster at the front. And the only reason for that is when you put a knit under a foot, it stretches. There's no doubt that it stretches feeding under the foot. So this compensates for the stretch. So, that often defines why I'll use a serger rather than a sewing machine, because I can compensate for the stretch and I have these great feed dogs. Now, this machine has snap-on feet. Okay, so I'm just going to snap this on. You're going to put it so that the ankle's going over, bring it in from the left. Okay, you're going to put it so that the neck is over the ankle. And if nothing happens, just click the button at the very back where I'm tapping and it will fall into place. So let us see what it can do. So I've got it set for 3-thread overlock. And a lot of people ask, what stitch should I use? Well, you have a lot of choices, and I'd like to assure you that there are no Serger pleats out there. So, experiment, try different things. This is 3-thread overlock wide, and the advantage, the way I look at the Serger stitches when you should use 3-thread to 4-thread is that on a sewing machine, when I sew, I get a line of straight stitching. When you sew on the Serger, you are going to get a line of straight stitching. You're just going to get threads that lock over the edges. Now, if I was going to sew something on my sewing machine twice, then I would think about 4-thread overlock, because 4-thread overlock, you would be using both needles and you'd have 2 lines of stitching. So let me just stitch something just so that you know that I threaded it right, just in case I didn't too. So I'm just going to stitch away, and you can see that I'm actually not cutting. That's kind of my style. And there you have the perfect stitch. So there it is, and there is the back. Now, if I wanted to make that stitch wider, that's as wide as it will go, or if I wanted to make it narrower, I would just move my stitch width dial down. That's the top one. If I wanted to make my stitch shorter, I would work on the stitch length dial down here. And I had actually got it on 4, and I probably would have preferred it on 3. So I think that's everything I want to say about the machine, but I do want to discuss some of the stitches because, people, I know when I bought Serger, I thought it just did 4-thread overlock. And that's all I used it for about 2 years because I was too scared to change. But there's lots of other stitches that Sergers do. And with a machine like this, it is not complicated to change them. And I think that's the point I wanted to make. I wanted to encourage everybody to get the full use out their machine. So we can gather with it, okay? We can gather up edges. Now, only lightweight fabrics for that. And you can certainly gather and sew a strip on at the same time. So really great for making a bed ruffle, a cushion ruffle, or even a dress, okay? So I wanted to say that was gathering, okay? So we can gather. And then we can do flatlock stitch. Now, flatlock stitch is probably my favorite stitch. Now, anybody that knows me knows I do a lot of decorative work. So here we are. This is flatlock stitch. Do you see the rungs in the ladder? What I did was I wanted lots of strips sewn together. And yes, I could do that on my sewing machine, but I'd have a big seam there. The advantage of flatlock stitch is that when you pull on it, I'm just trying to find a piece I've stitched here. When you pull on it, it pulls flat. So you don't have any bulk. Okay, so here I have it in a decorative form, but that's quite good for demos because you can see it more clearly. So this time around, I've used really heavy threads, but do you see on the back, whoops, just move my piece of paper on that. On the back, it is totally flat. Totally flat. It pulls flat. It doesn't overlap. It pulls flat. And you can do it two ways. You could put your decorative thread in the looper. It'll only be one looper, lower looper. And you can put regular thread in your needle, and that's kind of what it'll look like. Or you can put the decorative thread in your needle and do it that way. Let me see if I've done it here. No. Or you can also do it where you put the decorative thread in your needle and you get the rungs on the back as the decorative section. So how do we change to flatlock? So and these are the questions that you need to consider. How easy is it to change it out? Well, flatlock stitch, I'm not going to change the whole machine out, but I'm going to show you how you do it. So you would have your lower looper thread, and it may be that you have that as decorative thread, or you might have your decorative thread in the needle, one or the other. You do not need the upper looper thread. It is a 2-thread stitch. And actually on the Serger, there's quite a lot of 2-thread stitches. There's rolled hem. And the advantage of those type of stitches is that they use less thread, so that's a bonus. And certainly if I'm doing something like finishing the edge of a seam, I'm going to use that 2-thread overlock. I'm not going to put 3 threads in when I can use 2. It also makes them less bulky. So the secret with flatlock stitch is you only have 2 threads. And when you only have 2 threads, you have to fool the machine into thinking that there's thread in the upper looper when there isn't. And do you see this little contraption here? It flips over and it goes into let me raise that up. It flips over and it goes into the eye of the upper looper. And that fools the machine into thinking that there's thread in there. So pretty cool, because then you get this stitch that I showed you there. Let me show you something else with it on. This is where I've had the decorative thread in the needle, and you can see I've used a really heavy thread. Of course, you can use it as a utility stitch. It might be nice on baby wear or something like that because it pulls flat and you don't get that thick seam, and even on exercise wear. So it's a stitch worth looking at. And I tell you what else I've done with flatlock stitch. I have used it. Here it is on a bag I did. This is flatlock stitch. And you can see I've put ribbon underneath the rungs of the stitch and woven trim in to make it look pretty. And this one is just where I've had the decorative thread in the lower looper. Only got 2 threads, needle and lower looper. And that's how pretty that is. And I could actually have put ribbon under there. I didn't, but I could. So, you know, it has its place. So that is Flatlock stitch. So another stitch that I really like on the serger, and I'll probably show you this if I get full camera again, but I made this jacket on the applaud. Okay, so it's got all the applaud stitching. But do you see that on the raw edges? Whoops, it's so big, it's pushed my camera. Let me just reposition it. Right. On the edges, this is boiled wool and I like it to be finished. See how I just used a blanket stitch on the serger to finish the edges? That could be done on this machine, and it's a variation of that Flatlock stitch. So, you know, there's many more stitches than you think. And then we could go on and say, well, what about rolled hem? So if we were going to do a rolled hem on this machine, we would use the right needle. But what makes it really easy is when you do a rolled hem, let me just take this off again. When you do a rolled hem, one of the things you have to do, let me just put the knife down so that you can see it. Do you see where the stitches are at the moment wrapped around here? You're probably having a bit of trouble, but I'm going to slide the stitches off and then I'm going to turn this stitch length dial to rolled, the rolled numbers. And do you see what happens? This, the stitch finger, disappears, and that's what we want to happen. And in some machines, you actually have to physically take it out and put it in. But in this machine, you just go to the rolled numbers and it does it for you. Okay, so that's super cool, super easy, and, you know, easily done. Right, I think what I want to do next is go on to quickly talk about the feet, because this is my view on it. If you're going to buy a serger, then please buy the foot kit that goes with them. Okay, it does so much. There is a ruffling foot. Now, what did ruffling? Let's have a look. Here's my ruffling foot. I was able to sew this ruffle to this strip of fabric in one go. How cool is that? If we have enough time, I will show you that. And as I said, great for bed linens and things like that. And that is using the ruffler foot. And then we have the lace foot. The lace foot, let me get it out of the box. The lace foot is really good for sewing lace onto fabric. That's why it's called the lace foot. And I want to show it to you. It's quite a big foot. And the other thing that I really love about the lace foot is it has this little hole to the right. And I put wire in there, and the wire feeds under the foot. And I sew around the wire. So say I want to make roses, fabric roses. That is what I'm going to use to make the edge so that I can bend it. Another common time would be for making wired ribbon. Okay, so you put the wire, just a small lightweight wire, through there, under there, and it just stitches right over it. So you can use any stitch. I sometimes use a rolled hem. So that is the elastic foot. And of course, I haven't told you anything about what it does. The elastic foot is superb for sewing elastic in curved legs. So if you're somebody who makes swimsuits, underwear, that type of thing, this foot is what you need. You absolutely need this foot if you do that. Sewing elastic on a curve is nigh impossible without this foot. So that's the elastic foot. So I talked about the ruffler foot. That's a big old foot. And I showed you what it did, so I won't get it out. But it also has, and they're really well locked in, it has a small cording foot. This does cording, and it's the smallest one. It's called the P3, so I'm thinking it's 3 millimeters, and it does very, very fine, like you would get in heirloom. And this is the beading foot. This actually sews pearls onto the edge of your fabric using my favorite Flatlock stitch. So that's pretty cool too. You also have a blind hem foot. And the reason I'm going on about these is because I don't think it's worth having a serger if you don't have the feet, because these feet make everything so easy. So this is the P5 cording foot. It's going to take bigger cording, and I use that for a lot of things. So here, let me just show you some things I've done on it. Here's a piece of cording sewn in between two fabrics, and I made the cording on this actual machine, and I sewed it in on this machine using the cording foot. Isn't that perfect? Now, before I had sergers, I never used to really be that enthusiastic about doing cording. And then the other thing you can do with a cording foot is you can sew in zippers, and see how perfectly straight that is, how it's exactly the same distance all the way down. That's because I use the cording foot. So the cording foot dictates. So really, I couldn't mess it up unless I happened to pull the teeth out from the under the groove in the cording foot. So there's so much more sergers do that make sewing easier and more fun. And let me see 1 second. I see how we're doing for time. Right, I think we're actually almost out of time, so you're never going to know now. But I was just going to say that I did this. This is one of my favorite things. With the cording foot, I put cording in between my binding and it's actually a small table topper, and I sewed it on with the serger, and I used fusible thread in the back, so it just folded over. I pressed it, it fused, and then I hand sewed it around because I like hand sewing. But isn't that fabulous? And that could be done on this serger too. So Blaine, I think time's shot by. I feel I've only just got on, but I think it's almost time to pass back to you so you can help people.
It's going by fast, that's for sure.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
Deb, thank you so much. And I think do we have her one more time?
Yep, you do
Yeah,
in half an hour.
yeah, just a little bit. So, all right, we'll
Yeah.
see you back here in just a little bit, okay?
Will do. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Deb. All right, let's tell you how you can get this Celebrate now. The Celebrate, when they launched this was like the most popular baby lock serger. I mean, it was just unbelievable how many of these sold because of that price point. I mean, $999 for an air thread serger is incredible, especially a baby lock brand. Get on that phone right now and give them a call if you want one of these. 800-401-8151. We do have a call-in special on this. We're going to ship it absolutely free right to your doorstep. And then if you do need some financing, talk to them about financing. They have some special financing for you as well. But get on that phone, give us a call. Now, if you're on the website, you can just type in Celebrate in the search bar, and it'll take you right to that product page. We have live chat agents as well monitoring the chat. And then we have Rhonda is on Facebook and YouTube chat today. So if you have any questions, Rhonda Kramer is monitoring that, and she can answer your questions in that chat. All right, we are going to continue on, and we are going to bring in another baby lock educator. Y'all know her well. This is Melinda Stephenson. She was here yesterday, so y'all give a big SMP welcome to Melinda Stephenson.
Hello, Blaine. Hello, y'all. I'm so happy to
Hey.
be here, and I love listening to Deb Canham. I'm telling you, every single time she's on, I learn something. So she is fabulous.
Well, and the English accent doesn't hurt things too much either with her speaking. I love her accent as well. And thank you for being here and doing double duty for 2 days. And I know we're super excited about today because we got so many great sergers in the lineup. And this one's not another exception. It's just the same thing. It's a great air thread serger. So we're gonna let you take it away, okay?
All right. Thank you so much, Blaine. I do love this serger. This is the Victory serger. And while on my sewing table, I have the Acclaim and the Euphoria because they're big machines. This Victory serger does everything that my Acclaim does, with a couple of exceptions. But I can travel with this machine because it's very lightweight and it's very small. It has all of our major features on our serger. So I'm going to show you that serger. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little project as I'm showing you all these wonderful features so that you can see why we use these features, okay? All right, so I'm going to switch my camera over here to my serger, and let's get started. Okay, so here's my Victory serger. And the first thing that I love about this serger is it has this fabulous jet air threading. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how easily this works. This jet air threading makes it so that with just this little bitty a teeny tiny little airflow is going to allow that thread to go in. So I'm going to pop my thread down here. Let me get this thread out of the way. I'm going to pop my thread in. And then I'm going to, I love the front of this machine because if you can see right here, it gives me absolute step-by-step instructions on how to thread my looper. So it says the first thing I need to do is to press my machine lock button. And then I'm going to turn my hand wheel to engage my threading tubes. And then I'm going to determine whether I'm using my upper looper or my lower looper. I'm just going to pop it over there to my lower looper. And then I'm going to insert an inch of thread into that threading port. Now, I always like to give my thread a little clip before I put it in there. But now I'm going to pop it in. All righty. And then all I have to do, and you can watch this lower looper right there. Let me get the camera so that you can actually see that. And I'm going to send a little gentle air down, and you see how that popped right out? Okay, I love that. That is just, and you do the same thing in order to thread that upper looper, okay? All right, so let's just test our fabric, make sure that that our threading went as it should have, okay? And I'm just going to put my stitch length on 3 here, and I've got a very wide stitch width. So let's just give this a little bit of a lower my, there we go. All right, I came unhooked, y'all. I came unhooked on my machine. Give me just a second here. My electricity cut off. All right, let me unplug and plug it back in again. And then let me give it a little pop here. All right. All right, here we go. Now we're ready. Okay. Yeah, that's given me that's a 3-thread serger stitch. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how very easy it is to turn this 3-thread serger stitch into a quick and easy rolled hem. And all we have to do is change my stitch selector to D. Okay, so I'm going to put that stitch selector on D. I'm going to put my stitch width over here on a 3.5, and then I'm going to go down here to my stitch length, and I'm going to change that stitch length to a rolled 1. And you can see right there that it tells me this is rolled hem, so rolled hem 1. Now, Deb showed you in the previous demo how it drops our stitch fingers so that you very easily create without any other adjustments, you can create a rolled hem, which means that we don't have to add any sort of pieces to our machine. So I'm going to just stitch this so that you can see how beautiful this rolled hem is. All right, so there it goes. Very quick, very easy. And what I'm doing right now is I'm actually stitching the rolled hem edge of a ruffle that I'm going to create in just a few minutes, because you can see how easy it is to create a ruffle. Right? So now isn't that gorgeous? Okay, that is our rolled hem, both sides. It is absolutely perfect. Now what I want to show you is how easy it is to insert a zipper using this machine. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change feet. And as Deb says, you want to have your foot kit because you can do so many things with a foot kit. I'm putting on the P5 foot, which is our cording foot, and I'm going to use it to attach my zipper. In a few moments, so I'm going to show you also how you can use this same foot in order to insert a zipper. Okay. All right. So here we go. We're going to we are creating a zipper. Okay. All right. So I've got my cording foot. Now I'm going to change my stitch selector up here to B. because I have only one needle in my machine. So I'm always going to have it on B if I just have that right needle in my machine. I'm going to change my stitch width to 5. Okay, right here. And then I'm going to change my stitch length. I'm going to get it off of rolled, and I'm going to put my stitch length on a 2.5. Okay. And so now my machine is ready to insert a zipper. So let me show you how easy it is to do zipper insertion. So this is one side of my fabric. So let me back up just a little bit so you can kind of get a better picture of what the whole thing looks like. So whenever you put a zipper in, you want to have zipper hanging off on either end so that it doesn't get caught underneath your presser foot. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to slide this with the face of my zipper down. I'm going to raise my presser foot, and I'm going to slide it in. That little tunnel, that little groove on my cording foot is where the zipper's going to. Okay, so here we go. All righty. I'm just going to stitch, stitch, stitch. All righty, I'm going to get to the underboard. And then as I get to the end, I'm just going to make sure I'm kind of pulling it off to the end. And I'm going to make sure that my zipper gives me a perfect edge right there. So now let's put it the back of my bag. So I'm going to slap my zipper on here. I mean, my fabric on here, right sides together against the right side of my zipper. Okay. And then I'm going to stitch, raise my presser foot, slide my zipper cording so that the cord goes underneath the groove in my cording foot. And then I'm going to stitch. I'm just going to make sure that I've got my fabric edge on the edge of my zipper. And I make sure that zipper coils are going right inside of my cording foot. Okay. And this little machine stitches at 1,500 stitches per minute. So it's really fast. So you have to really control your presser foot to make sure that, your foot control to make sure that you're not stitching too quickly. But it's really great whenever you're stitching long seams because it just really goes really fast. You can make Christmas pajamas very quickly on this machine. Okay. All right, so there's my zipper, okay? And you can see that when I unzip the zipper, it just is perfect, okay? All right, so there we go. There's my zipper. All right, so the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how easy, as I create this project, I'm going to show you how easy it is to thread my needle because on this machine, I also have a built-in needle threader. So I'm going to get my little screwdriver and I'm going to get my needle. And I'm going to take my needle, I'm going to slide it up into the groove that the needle goes into, okay? And I'm going to make sure there's no daylight there on the top because if there's daylight, that means I haven't gotten it up high enough, okay? And then I'm going to take my screwdriver and screw that needle in, okay? Make sure that it's tight, not too tight. You don't want to strip it, okay? And now I'm going to take my thread. I'll put my thread on my thread stand. Okay. Now, again, remember how I told you that this machine shows you how to thread? Well, it has the same thing with the needle threader. Okay. So it says align the hand wheel to the mark on the belt cover right here. So I'm aligning, whoops, you couldn't see that. Aligning my hand wheel. There's like a little green line for me. And then I'm going to set my threading lever to the left or to the right. And you can see that's my threading lever. Has a little L on there, which you're not going to be able to see because my camera doesn't allow it to be close enough for you to be able to see that. But I'm going to pull this over here. And then all I have to do, once I've set that properly, all I have to do is lower my needle threader, my built-in needle threader. I'm going to get the thread right underneath. I'm going to let go of it. And then I pull it through and my needle is threaded. Okay. Super easy, super fast. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, since I have put that left needle in, I'm going to put my stitch selector on A, and then I'm going to increase my, well, my stitch width is at 7.5. And then I'm going to put my stitch length at 4. Now, the reason I'm doing that is because I'm going to show you another cool feature that we have, and that is this wonderful differential feed. So I have a full feature differential feed that enables me both to stretch my fabric and gather my fabric. And what we're going to do is we're going to put that on 2. We're going to gather our fabric in order to create a ruffle. So let me move my camera over so that you can see it. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to change to my regular foot rather than my cording foot. All right, let me get my regular foot on there. Get my thread out from under my cording foot. Got my thread caught in there. Okay, so let's pop that right back on. All right, super easy to pop on. Now I'm just going to give it a little bit of a stitch just to make sure that it's really pop. And I like to do that every time I change the threading. I just like to stitch out a little sample to make sure that the threading is going well. And now I'm going to pop that differential feed all the way up to 2. I'm going to raise my presser foot, and then I'm going to stitch my ruffle. You can see that I'm just kind of helping it in, right? And just that quickly and easily, I have a little ruffle, okay, that I can add to my bag. Now, one of my very favorite things to do on this machine is to create piping, all right? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my P5 foot back on, and I'm going to raise my presser foot, and I'm going to slide it on, okay? All right, there we go. And then I'm going to change my differential feed back to neutral, okay, and that's in. And then I'm going to grab my supplies for, let me get this out of the way so you can kind of see what it looks like. So in order to make piping, all you have to do is just take a piece of fabric, fold it in half, okay? So I'm going to take that little piece of fabric, I'm going to fold it in half. I usually use about 1 inch to 2 inches worth of fabric, okay? And then I'm going to take piping that's a little bit longer than my fabric. I'm going to slide this into kind of like a hot dog, all right? And then all I have to do is raise my presser foot and slide my piping into that groove. Okay, let me just pull my piping out just a little bit so I can get it underneath my foot. Now, the cool thing about this presser foot is I can raise it even higher than it says, okay? And I can go up all the way up to 6.5 millimeters, all right? So that is gonna help me create, now I've got a super fat piece of cording in here, but I love this foot because it lets me do this super fat piece of cording, all right? So here we go. The only thing I have to do is just keep my piping underneath in that groove. So you can see that groove. Okay. We're going to keep pushing up. Okay. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piping and I'm going to put it onto my ruffle. And I'll show you how quick and easy it is to do that. So I'm just going to slide it right here. I'm going to slide this under my foot, and you can see that this is a lot of bulk underneath this foot, but this little machine is a workhorse, and you can get a lot of bulk underneath this foot. Okay, so let me raise my needles and raise my presser foot. Let's get it all under there, and now I'm going to stitch it all together. Stitch my ruffle onto my piping. Okay, so I'm going to keep it, trying to keep the edges even, keeping my piping inside of my the channel for my piping foot. Okay, so and you can imagine a little dress where you take your piping, put it on your ruffle. We're going to make a little bag, but you can use this same technique if you were making a dress. Okay, so you can see now that my piping has gone right on top of my ruffle. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the whole thing to this little bag part that I've created. Okay. So I'm going to measure and make sure that my piping matches my bag. Okay. And then I'm going to take it over to the machine and I'm going to stitch all these layers together. The beautiful thing about the serger, about using the serger for these sorts of projects, is it just goes together so quickly, and you don't have to finish any edges because it finishes the edges for you. It finishes the edges for you, and it neatens the edges, right? So everything is all even. No little pieces of fabric hanging out. All right, there we go. Now, what we have here is automatic thread delivery. So what that means is that our machines are built so that there are cables inside that measure the thickness of your fabric, and therefore you don't have to change any tension settings. There are no tension settings on here. So you don't have to fool on this machine. You don't have to fool with any of those tension settings because your machine is going to do it for you automatically, and that is a beautiful thing. Okay, so let's see what we have here. All right, so we have that. All right, we have our fabric. All right, so now we got to add one more piece to this, right? We've got to add our second piece of fabric, so we have the bottom of our fabric on here. So let's go ahead and let's do that. So now we are really testing this machine, and we're testing to see just how many thicknesses you can get underneath it. So here we go. We're going to add one more thickness. Let's get that, all these pieces. Let's see if it'll go. So those of you who like to stitch jeans and handbags, this is your machine. This is like a great go-to machine for handbags, for jeans, for making all sorts. Okay, so here we go. Putting our bag together. And then all we have to do now is stitch the whole thing together. And we've seen, you see that LED lighting right there that lets me see? That's a really nice stadium type lighting that makes it so that even if I'm stitching on super dark fabrics, I can see what the heck I'm doing. Okay. All right. So here we go. There's the front of our little bag that we've stitched all together. I'm going to do a little trimming here. I don't really have to do much trimming because the serger is going to trim it off for me, but I'm going to do a little trimming here. All right, a little trimming on this other end. And now all I have to do is stitch all my pieces together, okay? So I'm going to tuck my ruffle in, and then I'm just going to stitch the side of this bag, and I'm going to let my machine, and see, we have this heavy duty cutter on our machine that enables you to cut through several thicknesses of fabric, and you're going to see how that happens in just a second. So let me get this right here. And you're going to watch how it cuts over the piping, and also how it allows you to just cut that zipper off. Now, I've made sure that I've unzipped my zipper halfway, so that because if you don't unzip your zipper halfway, you will not have a zipper to unzip. Okay, you'll have a very cute bag, but you won't actually be able to use it. All right, so here we go. I've stitched over. You saw how easy it was to stitch over the zipper. Now I'm going to flatten my zipper again, and then I'm going to stitch over this end. Okay. And again, what this is showing you is the strength of this cutting knife. Okay. We have this, and you can see the cutting knife right there. You can see how big that mouth is. It has a very big gap that enables you to cut very, very thick fabric. And that's one of the unique features of our machine. All right, so let me make sure that I've got all my everything together. All right, whoops, I lost a little bit there. Let's try that one more time. Got to get these two pieces together right here. Okay. All right. Serging is so much fun, y'all. It's so much fun. It's so satisfying to put these these layers together and in just a few minutes turn up something that you really are very proud of. So let me get this in here. I use this machine. I teach at Florida State University in Panama City campus, and I use this Victory Serger to teach my students how to serve. And these machines last forever. Our machines have been through all sorts of students' rough usage because they don't always know how to use it. But these little machines are troopers. Okay, so now let's turn our bag right side out and let's just see what we have. Okay, and give it just a little trim right here. I'm going to trim it here, a little trim, and then I'm going to turn it right side out. Okay, it's forming a little bag, right? So this is a cute little Easter gift to give. You can put some treats in it, and there you have a bag that takes about 10 minutes to create with all those wonderful trimmings. Okay, so that is one more. I want to show you one more thing on this machine that that I know that is very important to quilters out there, and that is quilters always ask me, can you get a perfect 1/4 inch seam on this machine? And the answer to that is yes. It's very easy to do piecing on this machine. All you have to do, excuse me, all you have to do is set your stitch width to M, okay? And if you set that stitch width to M with your two, with your both of your needles in there, and if you'll stay right on the inside of your knife and stitch away. So I'm going to stitch these two layers together, being careful to stay right on the inside of my knife. And now if you measure this, you are going to have a perfect 1/4 inch seam. It's a very fast way to put together a quilt, to do strip quilting. I love that you can wash these over and over and over again. And because you have 4 threads there, it just absolutely does not come undone. I like making grandbaby quilts with this particular technique. And then the other thing that you can do on the Baby Lock Serger, and this is something that that you just saw Deb Canham show you an example of, and that is you can create your you can go all the way around your binding by putting in your lower looper, putting a fusible thread. If you put the fusible thread in your lower looper, then when you stitch your binding on and then you turn it over and press it, you've got a perfectly pressed binding, a binding that looks beautiful. Some of my friends, whenever they stitch bindings like that, they don't even hand sew them. Okay, they just leave it. They just leave it that way. And then, especially if they're quilts that you're just going to hang on your wall, or you can go over with your sewing machine and you can, stitch around the edges, or you can, as Deb says, you can hand sew it. So that's just a few of the many things that you can do on your machine, and you can see that using all those fun techniques, you can create just very fast a little project, gift bags for any occasion. Okay, Blaine, I think Blaine now is going to tell you just how easy it is to purchase this machine.
Well, thanks, Melinda. Great job as usual. And I'll tell them how to get it. And thank you so much for being part of the Serger Soiree.
Thank you so much for having me. This is really fun.
All right. Thanks, Melinda. All right, everybody. That was the Victory Serger. And take a look at that SMP live pricing. It's $14.99. We do have a call-in special, so you have to call in to get that special. We have some financing available. 800-401-8151. We have all of our sales team is standing by. Now, if you also just wanted to go take a look on the website, go to SewingMachinesPlus.com. In the search bar at the very top of the page, you can just type in Victory Serger. It'll bring you up to that product page. And we also have live chat agents on the website that can help you check out. They can answer your questions. And anything that you might have, you can get it right there. And then we also have Rhonda Kramer is on the YouTube and Facebook chat. So if y'all are on that and you're having some questions, they can probably help answer those for you as well. All right, we are going to move on. And we got Deb coming back in. So I don't need an introduction with her. Y'all welcome back to the show, Deb Canham. Hey, Deb.
Hi. Hi. Great job, Melinda.
That was excellent, wasn't it?
Yes, she's always
All right.
excellent.
All right, we're going to let you take it away, and I'll be back here as soon as you get finished up.
Okay. So what I'm introducing now is the Vibrant, which I believe is our most affordable serger. And for that reason, I think it's very typical for young girls to buy this machine. And there is such a huge number of girls making their own t-shirts, leggings, exercise wear. And this is a perfect machine for it. And I have actually got videos on the Babylock Sew Ed site and on how to make t-shirts, leggings, and a kind of cardigan thing, all on this Vibrant machine. So you can see I love it. And I do. It's I'm going to turn it around and show it to you. It's a machine that has 2 or 3 of my favorite things about it, even though it is the more affordable version. So let me just change my camera around again so that you can see it. Right, here it is. So it looks a little bit different to some of our Babylock machines. And it's a 4-thread serger. The big difference between these and the ones you've seen this morning is this one does not have automatic threading. Okay, so how do we thread it? Well, I think the point is that it's a simple threading method, and it has very detailed illustrations. Illustrations are great for me because I forget what I read, but you just literally follow all the illustrations in here and thread out your machine. Now, I will say this machine you have to thread in order, so from the right to the left. But let me show you how it makes it even better. And this is why I'm a bit fond of this machine, because it's got lots of little things about it. So you see here where you normally thread those loopers that are behind there. Do you see how it opens out so you have clear access? You don't have to get a pair of tweezers. It's very easy to do. So that's one of the things I like about it. And then one of the other things I love, can I say to open this out, you press this silver lever, and then when you close it, you do the same again, and it's closed and ready to sew. But when I'm teaching classes, one of the things that really bothers students, it doesn't bother me, but it bothers students, is how much do they cut off if they're cutting some off? If they're making a certain pattern, how much do they know to cut off? Well, this has a really cute stitch guide, and I think that is so great, particularly for people that are new to the serger. You can slide it to get what you need. So here I have cut out, or not, haven't cut out, I've drawn on a piece of fabric. This is a 5/8 seam allowance. Now that's very common with garment making, and I'm going to feed it in around here, and I've got to lift my foot to do that, and I'm going to feed it as far as the knife because my knife is up and cutting, and I'm going to sew. And what that's going to allow me to do is check that in fact I need to move over a bit. Okay, so I'm sewing with my left needle on the line. That would be my stitch line. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this foot over, and it is going to keep me the same distance all the way down. Now that is pretty cool. And of course I can alter it. I can alter it to 1/2 inch, 1/4 of an inch, whatever I need. And it does actually have measurements on there, but I generally just put a piece of fabric under with my line drawn on it, make sure it's all suited up, bring that in, and then sew the rest of the seam. So that's quite a useful thing for a lot of new sergists. So there's that, and then watch this. This is another one, another thing I really like. You see how I've run a thread chain? And if I press this little knob here, it lifts up a knife and it cuts it. I think that's really cool too. And it also has, and I haven't shown it, but it has a cord that you can feed in through here and sew over. And again, that's something I haven't seen on Sergers much. So it just does have a lot of knick-knacky things. And I wanted to say one more thing about it. Oh, it does come with a thread basket. Because this is a travel machine for me, of course I've lost it at this time. I'm sure it will turn up. But what I want to do is just quickly go through the controls because they're a little fraction different, but still very easy to use. So if I was going to alter my stitch width, remember, if you want a wide stitch, you're going to use the left needle, and narrow stitch, the right needle. But if I wanted to alter my stitch width, there is a knob here. It's called the cutting width dial, and you can move it. And what it does is it moves that knife fractionally right or left. My stitch length is over here, and my differential feed is just here. So not too complicated. And then I have my 4 tension guides because I have tension on upper looper, lower looper, and both needles. And again, in the manual, it comes with a sheet that tells you exactly what you should be set at to do these things. Now, a couple of other things that I want to show you. Do you remember when we were working on the Celebrate and Melinda did the same? We moved to the rolled numbers and that moved our stitch guide. Well, with this machine, you actually have to physically remove it, but it's nothing complicated about it. So you just slide it out, okay? Just slide it out. And you could slide it back in again. That's to remove the stitch finger. We didn't have to do that with those other machines, but it's not difficult. And then do you remember that we had a bit that we flipped over to put into the eye of the upper looper when we were using 2 threads to fool the machine into thinking there was thread in the upper looper? Again, you have to take something out the front of your machine and you just pop it into this little area here and it will go in the eye of the upper looper. So nothing too complicated, nothing too complicated at all. So that is basically how this machine works. As I said, it's a cool machine and I have made quite a few things on it. So what I wanted to look at, let me think, what was I going to show you? I was just going to show you, I'm not going to go in detail because I covered the feet on the Celebrate, but again, it comes with a load of feet in a plastic box. And I can't tell you how great I think feet are. So you can see it has some good ones. This big one is the Ruffler, and then we have the elastic foot, and we have a blind hem foot, and I think it has 2 blind hem feet, so it can do 2 distances. And these can also act as a guide. So pretty cool. Right. So again, you can gather by putting your differential feed that's on the right all the way up. You can gather, and there's a foot in there so that you can gather it to a strip of fabric, just like Melinda did, and have that look, which, you know, is great for a serger. But what I wanted to go on and show you was that it's not just about these utilitarian stitches. We can actually do a lot of creative things on our machines. Now you saw I put in a zipper. You can do that on this machine. I'm just looking for my decorative stuff. So do you see this? This is this machine. And what I did is it's a 3-thread overlock wide. And I used 8-weight thread in the upper loop. Actually, this is 12-weight. 12-weight thread in the upper looper and the lower looper. And you see what a lovely finish you get on the edge? So really good for finishing edges. Perhaps it's on a bag or it could be anything. But I've actually stitched it over Bosal, so it's quite thick. But you do get that lovely look. And I have more decorative stuff around here. Of course, I'm having trouble finding it. That's that. You can certainly put cording in, and this is the rolled hem on the Vibrant. See how pretty it is? Pretty perfect. Right. So as I said at the beginning, a lot of people that own this machine are people that are wanting to make leggings and knitted items and things like that. So I thought we'd just have a quick look at it and just understand why it is so good for knits, because that is a fact. It is. You know, if you've ever sewn knits on a sewing machine, you'll know that it can be a bit hit and miss because it stretches. So I've got a knit here, and these are my tips for sewing knits. So I have the raw edge together at the top there. And what I'm going to do is I'm not actually going to trim anything off. So it's going to be about 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, which is actually quite common with knit patterns these days. And I'm just going to sew along the edge. So what I don't want to do is I don't want to cut. Now this machine is perfectly capable of cutting this fabric. But the trouble is, because it's a knit, it kind of stretches a bit. So I think it just makes it a whole lot easier when you actually don't, or at least not at the beginning. And why not at the beginning? Because if I can get the fabric right back to the needles, then I've got all those feed dogs working for me. If I just start at the front here, I've only got a few. And if you're ever going to have a problem with the serger, it's either going to be at the very beginning or the very end. So here it is set up. I'm going to raise my differential feed, which is to the right, to 1.5. Actually, it's 1.3. I think I only went 1 notch. And I'm going to stitch, and I'm going to use the knife as a guide. And the other thing to watch with these machines is make sure that you have the thread tail out the back. And you know, I also think it's a really good idea to clear your stitch finger before you start, which I didn't. So, and I could certainly use this stitch guide if I wanted to. So there you are, that's it on a knit. And if you look inside, it hasn't stretched. It's not all wavy like you see if it's stretched. So what I want to say is, somebody's going to say to me, but Deb, what if it's a 1/2 inch seam allowance and I do have to cut some off? Well, this is what I do. I'm just putting it together. You'll see it in a minute. What I do is I appreciate nobody wants to go all the way around cutting off 1/4 of an inch before they even sew it. So what I generally do is I cut off a quarter. Make sure this is flat. I'm going to do it on the table because it's difficult to hold it up. I'm going to cut off my excess seam allowance for the first 1.5 to 2 inches. And what that allows me to do is it allows me to put my knit right back to the needles, so all those feed dogs are working for me. And that's what's so important. So just like I didn't do last time, I am going to clear my stitch finger. It just makes it safer. I'm going to take this off. It does come off. I'm going to put this up to the knife and right up to the needle. And sometimes I say, just move the hand wheel just to get the threads into the knit. Now I've nailed it. Now all the feed dogs are working for me. I'm not going to have a fight with this knit. When I get past the area that I've cut, it's going to start cutting. And I'm fine with that. I feel by that point with all the feed dogs, there's no danger to that. It's just at the start. So there you go. Pretty cool. And I'm using 4-thread overlock. It's a knit. It's a stitch I would use for something like leggings. You can use a 3-thread overlock or a 3-thread narrow. There are no serger pleats, as I keep saying. Right, so I'm going to put my machine back to 1. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I miter my corners on quilt bindings. At least I think I am. I'm just looking for my piece of fabric and my binding. Right, so I have this is actually a piece of bosal, block of bosal, because I just happen to have it. And what I'm going to do is I've got my binding here. I cut it 2 1/4 and I pressed it in half. I'm going to put the raw edges together, and I'm going to start halfway up this side, and I'm going to lift my foot and clear my stitch finger, because that's going to allow me to push my fabric and things right under to the needle. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to head down this side. Now, I haven't got it in at the moment, but what I would do is I would take this Arn and Fuse. This happens to be Wonderfil, but there's all different makes of Arn and Fuse type thread. It's kind of a glue thread, and it just acts like thread until you press it, and then it will fuse. And I like it better on the serger because we have more thread than we have on a straight stitch sewing machine or something like that. So it works particularly well fusing on the serger. So it's called Arn and Fuse, and it's a thread, and I would have put that in my lower looper if I had more time. So I'm going to sew down this straight section. I've got 2 foot controls under my table. I probably got 3 if I looked. Right, so I'm coming up to this corner here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim it. I'm going to cut 1/4 inch into the binding. And the only reason I'm doing that is I am now, move you a bit nearer, I am now folding back the binding so that I'm going to sew straight off this corner. Oh, don't forget I've got my little knife. That's the trouble, I forget I got it. Cool. Right, so there we are. That is that first corner. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fold it so that it's going off the end here. Then I'm going to fold it again so it's coming back along the straight. So I might just put a pin in that just to hold it while I get it in position, and then I'll remove it. So do you see that? Shall I do that one more time? I'll do it one more time. So I sewed off the end. This end bit is not attached. This end bit is not attached. I'm going to fold it up, make a diagonal going to that corner. Then I'm going to fold it over. So we're going back in the right direction. Otherwise, I won't be able to continue sewing. So I'm going to put an angled pin in it just to hold it while I put it under. Then I'm going to lift my foot, make sure that my needles are high, clear my stitch finger to give me a bit more room, and I'm going to slide it under to the needles. And I'm going to take that pin out because having a pin in makes it too exciting. Right. So I'm going to put my foot down and I'm going to sew. So I'm going to sew along. Let me move you back a bit so you see more. I'm going to sew along to this corner. And I've got my raw edges just kissing my knife. And I sew a lot like that with the serger, particularly if I'm using something like bosal, because yes, the machine will cut it, but I don't see why it should have to. And actually, it really helps me just to have it as a guide. Then I know that I'm the same width all the way along. And actually, this is one of the things I love about doing the binding on the serger, because your stitch width is the same. So your binding is going to be perfectly straight. So here we are. I've cut into this corner, and I'm going to sew off the end. I'm going to use my handy dandy cutter. And there we are again. So I'm going to fold that angle. This is making the mitered corner. I'm going to fold that angle nice and clean. And then I'm going to fold that down. I'm going to put a pin in diagonally just to hold it while I put it under. I actually sewed this to the front of my quilt, and I'll show you why. It's not a quilt. You have to be very imaginative when I'm demoing. Right, so let's just pull on, just get stitches off stitch finger, lift it up, and we'll just do this final side, and then I'll show you how it works. So I'm going right back to the needle. And again, you know, every time you get right back to the needle, you're getting the best possible feed. And here we go. I'm just going to sew off this end because I'm going to show you what I've done. Right. So at this point, I would trim the excess. Now, I'm not going to do anything clever like thread them in. I'm just going to cut them off because they're going to be wrapped into the thing. And do you see how nice the mitered corner is once I've got that pressed? And it will fold round to the back. Okay, it will fold around to the back, and the advantage is that the just get you a bit more. The advantage is that when I go to the iron and I press this down, all this section is going to fuse down. Okay, so each corner you just go along and you fold in the miter and you press that down, and you just get the perfect binding on your quilts. I just don't see any reason to use anything else but this. And I know some people like to they like to hand stitch their bindings, and I happen to be one of them, so that's what I do. So let me show you this one. So this one I did exactly that, but I actually put cording in as well. And to do that, I used the cording foot. Okay, so when I sewed the binding on, as I just did, the only difference was I had the cording underneath the cording foot, and then I was able to sew that in as well. Then, as I say, I folded it over, I fused it, and then you can see my hand stitching. Isn't that pretty? But you know, when you look at a great big bed cover or something, it's just the fastest, easiest way. And I think you'll agree, it's absolutely perfect, the width all the way down. And that's one of the benefits of the serger, because it's only going to be, if you've had your knife up, it's only going to be the width of your stitch. So that is cording, and I'll just show you the thread again, because I bet somebody's saying, oh, that was fun, let's see it again. So I used Iron Infused by Wonderful, but there are a number of fusible threads out there that you can use for this technique. So I mean, Melinda showed you how to do cording, and that's possible on this machine. And let's have a look and see what else I have sitting here to show you. I just want to show you these threads. So this is, let me just move my camera a bit so you're not seeing my computer flashing away. So these, again, this is using a heavier thread, and you can absolutely use heavier threads on these machines. And this is what got me into being so keen on sergers, really, because you can use much heavier thread on these machines than you can use in the sewing machine. So these are 8-weight threads. Now remember, the lower the number, the thicker the thread. And you can see how lovely they are. The top one's a pink, and it's a rayon, and it has a splash of glitter. It's actually Dazzle by Wonderful. And I just love that look, that finish. And I use it on a lot of things. I use it on ruffles and napkins, and oh, you name it, I use it. And then on this side, don't you just love that? That's a variegated. It's not the prettiest of variegators. I've got some really lovely ones, but I obviously was practicing with this one. But do you see how the blocks change color all the time, and you get that really pretty look? And I'm just looking, because I have more. So this is, as I say, this is just a regular stitch, but how did I get it to look satiny? This is with a very short stitch length. So you end up with a kind of satin stitch. This one, I have got the stitch a little bit longer, but you can make it be just a solid line of color. And I'm sure I showed you the strip I had with the 2 stitches on. It'll probably turn up in a minute. But so on this machine, I did this Flatlock, and I did use an 8-weight thread in the needle. You can use a top stitch needle in this machine, and I put my decorative thread in the needle. And as I said, what I love about this stitch is it just lies completely flat. So really great for doing things like quilts where you're sewing lots of strips together. I think you've seen that. This was actually a sample I did that I was going to show you, but I ran out of time. And this is the ruffle on this machine using the ruffler foot. Okay, this was the one I was looking for and I couldn't find, but I found it now. So, I said about Flatlock stitch. In your foot kit, you have a lace applicator. At least I think you do. Let me just double check that. There's so many feet, and some machines don't have all the feet. But you see, what I did with this was I sewed this black lace on using Flatlock stitch. And the advantage to that is I'm not going to end up with a big seam. It's going to flatten out and look like that. Isn't that cute? And here I've done it with some thread here. And it just sews. And you can use decorative thread to really sort of make it look more exciting. Sometimes with this kind of thing, I don't do a lot of pastel and delicate stuff. But if I was going to do some, I would have used a light pink embroidery thread in there just to make that look super pretty. I didn't, did I? But I would do normally. So, it just gives you so many options. So yes, the whole reason I ever got involved with Sergers was because of the heavier thread and the decorative stuff you can do with them. So let me just have a look. I know I've got more decorative on this machine. So sorry, I'm looking for a certain piece that I can't find, but never mind. So I showed you the pink and orange. And again, you have woolly nylon and those kind of threads that you can use. You can use anything that you can get through the tubes. I mean, sorry, you don't have tubes on this machine, so you can get anything you can get through there. And you'd be amazed how thick some of the threads are. I've even used a lightweight ribbon in my loopers before now. But that's one of the advantage of not having tubes is, you're not going to get a tube blockage, but you can certainly use the heaviest of the threads. Right, well, let me just show you a couple of other things while the machine's set up and we can do it. Let me get out a foot. I think we've got enough time for me to show you gathering on this machine. This looks daunting because the foot's so big. So the same as all the other feet, you're going to lift the foot, you're going to take off the foot, and you're going to slide it in from the left. And if it doesn't go on easily, you're going to put your foot down over the ankle, and then you're going to tap that button at the back, and it should go on, and it has. So what I'm going to do is I am going to feed my fabric in underneath, and I'll show you what happens. I'm going to change all my settings slightly. I'm going to move my stitch length to 4, and I'm going to move my differential feed up to 2, and we'll see what happens. Now this only works on lightweight fabric. You can see it worked just fine here. I'm going to use my dandy knife. There. So this is actually quite a heavy cotton, so I'm pretty pleased with that. And what I'm going to do is I am going to sew. I'm going to use some of my finer cotton, if I can reach it, around here. And I'm going to do the same, and I'm going to sew it. Just cut it down a bit. So I'm not a great lover of doing ruffles. You know, they're laborious. But on the Serger, you certainly can. I'm using 4 threads, so it's like sewing it twice. So it started to gather. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put this piece of fabric in, and I'm going to put the right side of the ruffle upwards, and I'm going to put the right side of the fabric in, and we will see what we get. Now, there is a secret to this, and that is to get this red fabric under the needles. Okay, I've got it. So always start with gathering first. What I'm going to do is just hold these fabrics together. And you do not want to pull on the bottom one. If you pull on the bottom one, you're going to stop it ruffling, okay? Oh, see, there I go again. I've got this super duper knife and I'm failing to use it. So you see how nice those gathers are? Really pretty. And as I said, the secret to it is not to hold on tight to the yellow fabric, to let the feed dogs do their job. So just to remind you, the feed dogs are all the way up to 2. Right, well, I think, Blaine, it's over to you so people can find out how they can purchase this machine. As I said, I have a deep affection for this machine. It's just kind of easy to take to retreats, and I do love it. So over to you, Blaine.
All right. Well, thanks, Deb. We sure do appreciate you being on our show, and great job as usual. And I'm sure we'll see you again real soon. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Deb. All right, everybody. This was the Babylock Vibrant. Now, this is the entry-level machine. This doesn't have air threading, but this is the Babylock name. It is a great serger, and as you know, we showed yesterday the heritage. You know, they started all the way back in 1967 with those sergers, and again, $399. If you're needing a great little serger, this is a perfect one for you. S&P live pricing $399. Go ahead and get on that phone. Give us a call, 800-401-8151. If you'd like to get one of these, we have free shipping available, and we do have financing available on some models. I don't know if this one fits in that category or not, but you can always call and find out. But we are going to move on, and guys, we have saved the best for last. Is the Triumph. The Babylock Triumph is coming in. And we have Linda Brattine coming back. She was here yesterday. She's from that Columbia, Missouri area. So y'all give a big SMP welcome to Linda Brattine. Hey, Linda.
Hey, Blaine. How are you?
Doing fantastic. Well, we saved the best for last, this Triumph. I know everybody absolutely loves this machine. And anytime we do an event with it, people just absolutely snatch this thing up.
It's fun because it's 2 machines in one, in the space of one. So you can have all your fun and still save room for bigger machines.
There you
How's
go.
that?
All right. Well, we're going to let you take it away, and then I'll come back and tell everybody how to get one.
All right. Sounds great. Okay. So you are looking at the Babylock Triumph. And as I mentioned before, it is 2 machines in one. You're going to get the top of the line 4-thread overlock that we offer with the wave stitch and all of those lovely features that you've been seeing all week long. The flat lock, the wave, the 3-thread wide, 3-thread narrow, plus you're going to get our chain cover stitch machine. And it's combined into one lovely little package, which I tell people it's a small piece of real estate that does phenomenal things in your studio. So the cover stitch, chain cover stitch, will do the single chain, which is left, right, or center, depending on what you want to choose. It can also go up to a triple cover stitch. So it does have the capacity for 5 needles when we talk about safety stitches. One of the first things you're going to notice about the Triumph is this lovely space. You're going to get 5 inches from the needles to the base of the machine, and that is absolutely phenomenal when you are doing chain and cover stitch projects, because it enables you to get a really large hem, a really large amount of volume of fabric through there. So yeah, definitely worth it. You're also going to notice that we have a speed control. I like this because when I'm teaching classes and someone has never ever sat in front of a serger, I like to take it down to what I call my turtle speed. And if I'm in a hurry, I can move it on over to my jackrabbit speed. So I love that part of it. You're also going to see that we have our automatic thread delivery system. And you've probably heard that ATD a lot, because what that does is it automatically adjusts depending on the thickness of our fabric to release the right amount of thread as you are serging. You also are going to notice we do have our extraordinaire serging looper threading system. And I love it because it's both for the chain cover loopers and our upper and lower looper. Now, some of the difference between the Ovation and the Triumph, first of all, you're going to get your chain looper tension dial with numbers. Love that part of it, okay? You're going to get the speed control. You are also going to have, let me think, what else did I figure out? Oh, here's a big one, guys. Let me close this. Let me lift my presser foot and let me stomp on my foot control. I don't know if you can see this, but it's not serging. This machine has me looking fabulous, because if you've ever serged with the presser foot in the up position, you're going to notice that you make a big mess. This prevents it. The other thing is, this is my presser foot lifter. I believe the Ovation is right here. And sometimes when you have a bulk of things, you can actually snag that presser foot and lift it as you are serging. So the fact that it's the furthest away from my needles as possible, got to love it. Now, I tell you what, I was watching everybody else do demos and I'm feeling really, I don't know, kind of lost, because they're stealing some of my thunder. And I hope you notice what I'm doing here is I'm cutting a needle thread and I'm cutting a looper thread. And I'm just going to go ahead and serge my chain off. And I'm going to show you once again, because if you have not seen this, I think this is where all of the educators, this is where we have so much fun in sharing our love of serging. Oh, because I have to show you this too. Sharing our love of serging because it is fun and easy to do. And I'm going to tell you this, if you've never pulled out your serger, it's because you've had trouble rethreading it all the time. Once you have something that is absolutely phenomenal, you are going to use it more often because it's easier to use. I tell people I have this much time to be creative in my studio and this much of a life that I have to live. So this is the machine that gets it done. And yes, it does have a knee lift. I am just clear to the left of the machine because of the camera setup, so I can't show you that. But I do want to open this up because I want to show you our the airports, I call them airports, and how it assists us in getting those loopers threaded. Now I have just chained off and I'm going to put my machine so the presser foot is up. That's always a good practice, no matter what machine you are using, because that opens up the tension area. Now I'm not going to thread the whole machine. I do have my upper looper here that I cut, and my my O2 needle that I have cut. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the machine from serging and move it into threading. I'm going to reach over and turn the hand wheel. And I want you to watch over here as I turn this hand wheel. You are going to definitely, hopefully, hear a click and engage those ports. There we go. So this is phenomenal. I'm going to take my upper looper thread and touch the top of my thigh. That's going to make sure that I have enough thread to go the distance. Because remember, this is a lot bigger than our other machines, other than the, well, I guess the Ovation, Euphoria, and the Applaud now. So I put a 1/2 inch of thread in my U for my upper looper port, and I'm just going to go ahead and hit go. There it is. It just shot out. Isn't that lovely? Didn't have to do anything to sweat it. Now here's a really great feature that I absolutely love with the Triumph. It is the extraordinary threading of our needles. And I'm just going to lower my presser foot so you get a better visual on this. I'm going to pull my extraordinary ports down. and it acts like a vacuum. And I'm going to just trim this ever so slightly. You only need to have the length of the thread to the front of the machine. That's going to give you plenty. And all you have to do is really just hold it in front of the eye of the needle, engage in the vacuum, and it pulls it right through. The older I get, the more important that is in my life. This is phenomenal. We are done. And we are ready to go ahead and start serging. So let's do that. And notice if it's in threading, I can't close my front door. It needs to be in serging. I tell you, I love all of these features that make me look phenomenal. I'm going to slide my camera ever so slightly and zoom you all in so that you can see up close what I'm doing. So we're going to start here by doing some serging. And oh, you know what, guys? I totally forgot this. I wanted to mention our quick reference threading guide. What I like about Baby Lock is they definitely want you to be successful. And I'm going to tell you 9 times out of 10, if I don't get the stitch that I think I should be getting based on what I did, I have to go back here. And I call this my recipe card. That's the home economics, family consumer science teacher in me. So for the 4-thread overlock, it tells me I need my 01, 02 needles. It gives me a length range and a width. It tells me what my stitch selector should be. I don't have to guess about anything. It also tells me that my upper looper needs to be on the up, and I can use my blade and my knife cover along with my subsidiary looper being open. Plus, I'm going to get a color-coded schematic so that I can do this. Now, it's also this basic threading is also on the front of my front door. But here's the cool part. If I'm looking for a stitch and I noticed that anything that's overlock, I hope you can see that, is a green color. Anything that's going to have a specialty stitch will have a gold to it. So here's my 7-thread overlock, combination chain and overlock. So it's got both the green and the gold. The chain cover stitch is all gold, and our wave stitches, whether it's the standard wave or the reverse wave, has an actual wave to it. So this is phenomenal. I tell my students, just make a photocopy of this. You can download the PDF on our website and put it in a page protector. That's going to be your best bet to make sure that you get that threaded absolutely correct. Now, that being said, we're just going to do a quick little test here. And I have my presser foot down. Of course, just going to trim off ever so slightly and make sure that my stitch is going really well. All right, so this is just a plain piece of cotton that I'm serging on. And what I'm looking for here is my balance of my stitch. And I hope you can see this. I have a purple thread that's in my upper looper. And when I turn it over, I have my pink thread. So you can see that that is just really nice and balanced. What I like about my serger is that I can go. Now, I'm not changing anything, but I am going to bring in some knit fabric here. And it's curling. Of course it's curling, because what did Linda do? She just grabbed something she had. And I'm just going to lift my presser foot up and bring it back down. But we're just going to go ahead and serge on. And I got a little wonky here at the bottom, but that was me, not the machine. All right, here again, got that lovely looking stitch. We're going to do the inside look. Oh, look at that. Pretty, pretty, pretty. Love the way it's looking. How about denim? Anybody ever sew on a chambray or a denim? I love the way it just gobbles it up without having to make any adjustments. Let's just, how about, what if we fold it in half, give it a double, and then we'll fold it one more time. We'll see if it goes over 4 layers. Yep, let me lift. There we go. Get that foot up. Get it under. I hope you can see it just powered right through it and didn't even flinch. Still getting those balanced stitches. Love it, love it, love it. Anybody do any polar fleece sewing? Once again, this is probably a thicker knit, but what we're showing you is that automatic thread delivery system here with different types. I'm going to bump my differential up just a tad. to 1.3 just to get that to assist me. But you're going to see that this machine just really can go through a variety of different types of fabrics and do a lot of different stitches. Well, the same stitch, I guess, right now is what we're doing is a 4-thread overlock, but just showing you the different types of fabric that it can handle. And yeah, let's see here. I don't know, anybody love these little itty bitty ones? I'm going to go back down to the big red N here for Nebraska. If those of you don't know, I'm actually a Nebraska native. So I love that they put that big red N there on the front of the machine. All right, so we're going to get this really thin fabric, one layer of it, because sometimes we just want to finish our edges before we even go to sewing our projects, right? And check out that finish. Isn't that lovely? Love how it just goes right through there, just gobbles it up and takes it around. Now, one of the things that sets this machine apart, and I'm just going to back you up ever so slightly, is the versatility of what attachments, I'm sorry, trying to get this just right here for you guys, the attachments that come with this, or not, they don't come with this machine, but are available. Deb talked about it, Melinda talked about it. Baby Lock, we were the first ones to come out with the Overlock machine, and so we've had a long time to develop different products for our machine. All right. And one of my favorite things to play with is, I think it was released a year ago, like 2 Baby Lock techs ago. And this is the Overlock table. Most of us know that you get a cover chain stitch table with these combination machines. This is an Overlock table. So notice I didn't have to change anything, but now I have this lovely surface that I can do additional chain cover stitch attachments. One of my favorite attachments to use is a bias binder. So when you attach it, you can just go along, and I don't know if you can see this. This is supposed to be my representation of a pocket, and adding a little bit of trim here just to finish it off on both sides and have a little fun. Then I took one of my test samples here and just did it as a binding, just a different look. Imagine if we had done this with a wave stitch. Now this Overlock table will only fit the Ovation and the Triumph machines, but it is super, super fun if you are a quilter, and I'm guilty, okay? But you can come in here and you can use your fabric guide and the Overlock table to assist you. Now I know you've seen a lot of us talking about doing piecing, especially Melinda. She's, guys, we've had some great educators from Baby Lock on with us. But this the stitch guide or the seam guide, what it does is I line up, and let me lift this up here. I'm going to line up visually as best I can here. My furthest left needle, whether it's the 1 or the 2, and I'm using 01. So I'm going to try to line my 01 up here with this. In fact, what I might just do is grab a ruler, a measuring tool to help me out here. And I'm just going to line that 01 needle with the 0. Screw this in ever so slightly. There we go. And then I'm going to tighten it. And this is just a fabric guide, all right? It's just here to help me. Then I can move this over, and I hope you can see this, but I have both metric on the top and customary on the bottom, and I can put it at 1/4 of an inch. I can scoot it just to the left of that 1/4 of an inch and make it a scant. But what this will do is this will assist me in, I was using the wrong end. Sorry about that, guys. That's what happens when Linda talks. She should not talk and sew, but I can lock it in there. And now I am ready to use this to assist me in my piecing. So I'm going to close my door here, make sure I'm on the neutral or the big red N. And I'm doing a 4-thread overlock. I have a stitch length of 2 to 2.5. I have a stitch width of an M or a Morrow. And all I'm going to do is just start chaining through. And the neat thing about this is you can trim off ever so slightly. You can just go right up against the blade me see here. But it does get rid of all your little itty bitty pieces of extra fabric. But here, this is just another way that the overlock table can be used to assist us when it comes to piecing. And we're just doing some chain piecing here, nothing serious, but just getting some pieces put together. We're not doing strips, but strips would be fabulous because you could really just fly through those strips. But I always tell my quilter friends, they're always like, "Oh, Linda, you tell us we need a serger, but they don't understand why." I think it's because they don't realize this is your opportunity to have a 3,000 to 5,000 yard bobbin. I mean, come on, guys. Who doesn't want one of those, right, to piece with? And all I'm doing is cutting this apart. I like to use a 4-thread overlock because I think it's a very secure stitch, very stable. Let's just come in here. Oh, check it out. Isn't that pretty? Love this. So we're just going to go ahead and flatten this. I'm going to get my big pieces together and I'm just going to go ahead and serge them. What I like, of course, I always press for piecing, so I'm just pressing to the solid sides here. We're just going to layer these two up and run these through. Now, of course, the overlock table, this fabric guide, these are all add-ons. These are additional pieces, but so worth it if you are looking at making the investment. I didn't get that one tightened down. I usually leave it just ever so slightly so I can wiggle it back and forth. Now, let me just go back here. I'm butting my seams up. I didn't press these, so be kind, guys. I just finger pressed here. I know, cardinal sin. I just don't like to have the camera cords and the iron cords going together at the same time. Here we are. I wish I could. If I was sitting in front of the machine, I think I would have a better visual. I'm off to the side. I'm a side saddle sewer when I do cameras. All right. So let's take a look. Hopefully. Ooh, bing. Do you all see it? How is that for piecing? Isn't that fun? Love it. Does the quilt guide work with the original table? It works with the cover stitch table. Your blade cover does not have the screw holes to work with this. So you have to have the cover stitch table. And I'm going to share with you some of the things that you can do with this. Now, once again, I told you I am a quilter. So there are additional feet that you can also purchase that work with this table and also work with, the nice thing about this overlock table, guys, is that it gives you that surface. When we piece, we love to have that flat surface. When you use the original knife or blade cover, you don't have this extra table space. Now, of course, you can get an extension table for your Triumph. I don't want to, talk you out of it, but that's just one of those other options that we have to go ahead and work with. See, this is what I'm telling you. You don't have that extra table. This is the blade cover, but it is the regular table for your chain cover stitch, which is included, but you can't use your blade or your overlock needles. All right. So that overlock table, that's where it becomes a beautiful thing. Here's something else that I like to use when I'm piecing. It is the clear standard foot. Love it because I can do it for both chain and overlock, but it's visually, for me, that clear acrylic is absolutely phenomenal. Then we also have other options. I believe Melinda brought out the fact that you could use the lace application foot. Love this again because you can just use a little screwdriver and move that metal guide back and forth. And this helps you because you won't have it falling off the edge of your table. Now, some of my friends think that 4 threads are way too much. They're very, they want super, super thin. Well, I tell them, let's get you the open toe foot, and I hope you can see this. The open toe foot actually has a bigger visibility. And these are all snap-on feet, just like our sewing machine. You can take them on and off. But let me just compare the two. The one here on my left is a standard serger foot. The one on my right, do you see my hand peeking through? This is absolutely phenomenal because not only do you have big visibility here, but you have guidelines that are painted red to assist you, because a lot of folks will use this clear foot to do piecing with their cover and chain stitch. So let me just share with you, I'm going to back you up ever so slightly again. Let me just share with you some of the things, what I've done. Okay, so here's me chain piecing. Of course, you get it. You're going to cut it in half, and then you can come right back in here and turn around and piece the 9 patch. Flat, guys. These are really flat. I cannot tell you. I mean, I'm excited. Now, of course, when you can, let's just do a bunch of piecing, right? And let's take a look at that seminal piecing on the back. It just looks absolutely phenomenal. Here is a sawtooth star that I did on my serger. Love it because it just looks absolutely great. Here's one I did on my chain cover stitch. Very, very smooth. Looks a lot like my sewing machine. And if you've ever had to take a chain stitch out, those of you that have animals know how easy it is to pull one of those out if you need to restitch something. One of my favorite things to do is make Dresden plates. I know, what a silly thing to talk about, but it's straight stitching, guys. Here's my blade. I folded it in half, serged across the top. Then what you do is you take this and you press it open. You all know how to do this, right? There's my pretty blade. Then I just start sewing these things together. And oh, does your serger love it. It just makes a phenomenal thing. Let me show you this. Here are the blades without making points. It's more of a wagon wheel. And notice what I did here. I used some pretty rayon thread with a 3-thread wide, and then I did a gray on the back side. But this rayon thread just gives it a little bit of a sparkle. Love it. Let me hold it up here. Where's my center piece that I just dropped? Well, I made a round disc to go in the middle, but let me just show you this one. This is it with the blades. I love this. Oh, here it is. Then I took and I made centers for my Dresden plates, and they're reversible, guys. I can choose based on where it is, and then I can come back in and use my chain stitch to attach this to my background block, and this gives me a finished edge, and it can be laundered in anything. Anybody here have scraps? Anybody? Deb mentioned the Flatlock stitch, and this is me using that Flatlock stitch just to join scraps. It kind of gives that like a faux hand stitch, and it's super, super flat again. Just a fun way to get that look. Now here, anybody ever have batting scraps? One of my favorite things to do is to do a 2-thread Flatlock. You cut it to match, and then when you pull it open, notice that joining. Let's see if I can hold it so you can see it. There's not a bump. And what I like here is this ladder that comes in the middle. This, it doesn't give me a hard line. Like if you were to do a satin stitch, it would blend in. Of course, I'm using blue thread here for visibility, but even on the back side does not look bad. And so if you have, you don't get that shadowing that's through on the batting. Of course, everybody took out my thunder, and yes, I like to sew my bindings on the wrong side of my quilts, and then I roll them over and fuse it. And when I do my fusible thread, I also put a regular thread through the same lower looper. So I'm doing 2 threads through that lower looper, and I bring it around, and then I go to my baby lock quilt binding foot and sew that binding onto the front, and it just looks like a hand stitch. So let's talk just a little bit more about what else these machines can do for you, because I don't think people realize it. So this is a bag that I basically constructed on my serger. This is a silk Dupioni, but I did a chain cover stitch just using a short foot. Now we do have 2 types of curved feet. And here they are. One's acrylic, one is metal. And these actually are shorter than our standard presser foot. Let me just, where did I put my standard presser foot? Here it is. Let me show you. Oh, dropped my clear one. We're going to show you this one here. You can see how much shorter that clear one is based compared to the standard presser foot. And this enables you to pivot and move smoothly. That's how you get these lovely, lovely, gentle flowing lines here. I've got a thread. Imagine that, guys. Lovely flowing threads that make this clutch look absolutely fabulous. Here it is, doing it in a grid format. Also using the belt loop binder to create a band to put my zipper with. Isn't that fun? Anybody here like pie? Well, of course, you can use your belt loop binder to make lovely straps. Melinda showed you that yesterday, but I went ahead and took it a step further and added a little rickrack. So now I have a trivet that is absolutely wonderful and looking just yummy. But you can do so many things. Like she said, you can make straps with your belt loop binders. I wove with my belt loop binder. If anybody likes to do pin weaving, that's absolutely fun. And this whole bag was basically put together. Even the Annie Soft and Stable was put inside, and we're just using that 4-thread overlock to get it done. Now, one of the other things that we talked about the wave stitch, but I didn't get to show you a lot of it. This is a table runner. Of course, we use the chain cover here to embellish the center, but this is a flat lock wave that our baby lock sergers will do. And what it is it's flat. I don't know if you can see that. Most of the time, the wave stitch has a little bit of a curvature to it because, of course, it rolls that hem. But this flat lock wave actually gives you the wave stitch. And I hope you can see I've got two very similar in value threads here. But it joins things together and lays it flat. This is a table runner. I love that it's flat because then my drinks don't spill whenever I set one on the side. It's a good thing. This was a quilt as you go using strips. It's a little, I call it a triangle bag, but it's really cute in that you can quilt as you go. So you're lining it and you're piecing it together at the same time, and it's all filled in. I don't know if you can see that, but I got different threads on the inside. Just a real cute to-go bag, or like for my iron. Now here's a cool thing, a 3-thread narrow, finishing the edges and then coming back in and weaving it. This is just a throw pillow and then using that ruffling and the rolled hem on the edge. And I'm telling you folks, threads make a difference. This is actually a rayon thread and I hope you can see it. It just shines and shimmers. Looks like it could be ribbon done. Now, why not just piece on the front? When you've got a machine that does fabulous stitches, get those decorative threads out. I call them non-needle because anything usually larger than a 12 without changing your needle is going to have to be a looper thread. But this is so much fun. And the back of this quilt, I haven't quilted it yet because nobody believes me. I pieced it to the front. So much fun, so much, it's like having a party with your machine here. And then, of course, you can really do a lot. You can piece, there's a heart, puffing. Anybody do heirloom sewing? This is the traditional wave. This is the flat lock wave. Here's our flat lock stitch with ribbon running through it, sewing down with the chain cover, and then creating what I call like a buffalo plaid, using just our loopers and decorative threads in that looper. And this is probably going to be a blast from the past from anybody who has been around baby lock long enough. Yes, you can have some fun. You can create flowers. You can do your, let's see, my flower here is a little on the sad side. She's been traveling. But we've got flowers that we've gathered. We've got edges that we finished. We have that belt loop binder that we made stems with, even appliquing our leaves, dimensional leaves, and enhancing the background. In fact, this piece was totally quilted on the chain with the chain cover stitch. You see here that this is the cover on the bottom. So we actually quilted it from the reverse side. And oh, let me just show you. That is the applique stitch on my sewing machine after I fused it and brought it around to the front. The last thing, well, maybe, I don't know. Blaine, how much time do I have? Do I still have time? I love using a 3-thread wide on flannel and making a baby cover. It almost looks like this is just doing curves. Making a baby throw here, just using that 3-thread wide and having a lot of fun. And of course, you can do faux pin tucks with those rolled hems coming in and attaching it. And of course, I've got cording here in the edge of the pillow. But, you know, why stop there? You've got all kinds of things. And yes, look at this. I use that Flatlock wave to insert a zipper with cork. How much fun is this? This is one of my fantastic Flatlock composition book covers. Gotta have some fun here. And, you know, once again, just using the rayon that gives such a nice finish to make all kinds of fun things. This is a thread catcher. Who doesn't need another one? And then using the chain cover stitch, of course, to decorate the bag outside and the ribbons that we've used. I think I've done everything I can do. Blaine, I've lost my button here. Can you tell them how they can get a Triumph in their own sewing studio?
Well, I wish we could tell you how not to lose your buttons, but anyway, hey, great job, Linda. And again, everybody loves this. It's ever used this. And matter of fact, we're getting ready to have in store, we're having a big Serger event. I think it starts this weekend, doesn't it, Kyle? And or next week, I can't remember, but the dates. But we're going to have a beginner Serger event, and then we're going to have an advanced. And we've got Barb Lewis coming in doing the advanced, and we're going to be using the Triumph.
You're going to love her. She's great. She's a great teacher. Yeah,
she really is a good teacher, and I think everybody's just going to be so stoked when they get to use that Triumph. And so, anyway, we're going to have those events going on as well, to celebrate National Serger Month. And does anybody have any questions for Linda before we let her get out of here? If you do, put them in the chat right now. If you got any questions about that Triumph, because there's so much involved. You could probably spend a complete day going over all the features with it.
I'm over here like, oh my goodness. And I should tell you, both of these quilts behind me, they were all done on the Serger.
I think I can't remember who told me this. I can't remember who it was now. It's a Baby Lock educator, but they told me if they had one, they could only pick one machine out of everything to sew. They would pick a Serger because they could sew and do tons of other things just with the Serger.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember who told me that now.
This would be a tough one though, because I like free motion quilting, Blaine. And I know you can do this with the chain stitch. I know you can like come around and do a lot, but I'm really an artsy fartsy kind of quilter. So yeah.
That would be a tough one for you to pick. So we have one question came in. So it looks like they're asking, what needle do you use?
Okay. Did you hear my lid? Okay, I have been using the EL by 705 CF, which is what's recommended. It's right down here on my machine. That is what's recommended, and that's what I've been using. I did have a stretch needle in once and didn't like it as much, so I always just seem to use this, and it definitely works. And I use it interchangeably with my chain cover and my Overlock. Any other questions?
Yeah, there's a few in there. So Doris is asking, can you do double piping on the Serger?
You mean at the same time, or like one and then connect to the next?
Yeah, I'm not really understanding exactly. I'm thinking she's probably talking about at the same time, I'm guessing.
Are you talking like pin tucks? Because yes, you can do pin tucks. There's actually, to do like the bubble, but she's talking cording, right?
Yeah, Doris, if you could kind of just come back in and let us know exactly what you're asking, and we can try to answer that. What's the next question, Kyle? Is there a special way to thread elastic thread?
Oh, we actually have an elastic foot. You mean like, okay, we have an elastic foot, but we actually, through your loopers, I like to make a thread cradle where you take 2 pieces of thread, run it through the looper airport, the lower looper, and then you just put it through the fold. I could show you if you got time.
Yeah,
Blaine,
we got time. Let's show it. We'll get a
okay. I won't have any elastic thread on my hand right now, but I can definitely show you how to do it. All right, so we're going to just cut my lower looper because that's probably where you'd put it. And let me serge off here. Oh, guess it doesn't even have a foot on. Man, I've just stripped this machine like nobody's business. There we go. All right. So let me just serge off. I'm my worst enemy, guys. That's why I love this Triumph. It's keeping me honest. Okay. So let's say I have this thread and I'm going to put, this would be the exact same way. I'm going to turn my hand. Oh, you're not even seeing, guys. I apologize. me go here. I'm going to turn my hand wheel. I just moved it over to threading. I'm going to turn my hand wheel and I'm going to open this up so you can see the ports come across again. I don't have elastic thread, but I'm going to use my fusible thread here. And I'm going to put this on my chain looper spool pin just so that I have it nice and tight. I want to make sure this is up. This is in threading. And I'm going to run this through. Oh, you probably don't see this either because I'm going up through my big one. But I'm just going to, once it's up, I'm going to run both of them through. So it would be my elastic going through here. And I do this when I make a thread cradle when I have multiple threads or thicker threads. And I'm going to take another piece of thread, it's a black thread here, and I'm going to double it. So it's probably what? If this is 20 inches, maybe it's 40 inches. So I want to have enough to go through both of it. All right. So I want to make sure I have plenty of it. I'm going to take both of those little ends. And I hope you can see this. So I have the raw edges here. I'm going to put the loop end on my thumb. If I don't put the loop end on my thumb, what happens is I will shoot this and it'll hit the wall of my sewing studio. Not what I'm going for. But I'm going to hold the cut ends and put them in my lower looper, about a ½ an inch, and I'm going to hit my threading. There it is. It came out. You probably can't see it because it's black, but it's there. And there's my loop. If this was elastic thread, or this is my fusible and my standard Serger thread. Like I said, I do both. Chris Tryon suggested that as a safety feature. Then I'm going to take that elastic thread, or both my fusible and my regular Serger thread, and run it through that loop that I made. And then all I have to do is hold this end, which is my threads coming off the spool. And let me make sure I have plenty of it, and pull it through with my left hand. There it is. And your elastic thread or whatever decorative thread that's non-needle will come through. You only need about 4 inches, and that is it. Now we actually have a wire thread guide that you can thread with. It's pretty expensive, and since it's wire, it's very, very fine, and you can lose it very, very easily. But here again, we can take it right back to serging, and you are ready to go. I hope that made sense, guys. How's that, Blaine?
Hey, I thought that was great. I actually understood it.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. That's what I like. Okay.
Hey, we had our product launch party this year, and my wife Michelle came and she bought this fabric. It was kind of like I don't even know what it's called, like a velour maybe, kind of thicker. She wanted to make it for a dog blanket, and so we were there, and Candace Trevino, which is a baby block educator, she was here in our store, and she was like, well, hey, you need to serge that. So I got it and serged it right out here on that, and I kind of impressed my wife a little bit.
There you go. You got to always be handy. That's for sure.
I used a Triumph to do it.
You use a Triumph. Wonderful. Yeah. That's great. I mean, I use it, like I said, all the time. But I hope that any other questions that came in while I was...
Yeah, there's another one that came up. Jill's asking, can you use all 7 threads in one stitch?
Yes, you can. Have I? No. That's really a thick, that's a thick seam. Yeah, but you're talking like, I know that there are people that definitely do the 5 and the 6 if they're doing upholstery. So there are places it might be used. I'm of a size that I don't want to add any extra width on my seam allowances. I'm looking at a 3-thread narrow when I sew my clothes. Okay.
I'm sure you could probably come up with all kinds of things you could use these sergers to do, and with the seams, I tell you, there is kind of probably limitless, isn't it? What you could do.
Right, exactly. It's just phenomenal when you start. It's like a rabbit hole, because then you're like, oh, I bet I could do that. And yeah, it's pretty sad. Yeah, and people wonder why I get so enthusiastic when I start talking about sewing machines. They just don't get it. They don't realize the potential.
Well, I just love embroidery. I just think I've always been fascinated by embroidery. And then, quilting to me, I think, you're just one of those that are just an artist. I think that people that can do that very well are just so creative. And now, people are combining embroidery, applique with their quilting and serging. And they're coming up with stuff that's just unreal to look at. I mean, really, it's so great.
Yeah, and we haven't even talked why people sew clothes these days. It's fit, guys. If you have an odd body, this is your best friend. Yesterday with the applaud, I said if you have to shorten something, shorten it and make it sparkle. Nobody will ever show up with something that looks like yours, even if they bought it at the same place. It's like you're customizing things. It's letting us be unique, and
Well,
yeah, it's
you're
a
exactly
fun
right.
thing.
And every day, Linda, everybody is wearing something. If they're wearing clothes, they've got something on that was serged.
That's right. 9 times out of 10, yes.
Yep.
I don't know. I must still be a growing girl because knits are my friends. And so I love the fact that I can make something and, it's in my wardrobe and it's a staple. I mean, I go back to it all the time and because it fits better than anything I can pull off the shelf. I love it. Yeah. So if you have trouble with fitting issues or if you have issues, one shoulder being higher than the other, you can go in and fix it. I have been known to buy clothes, 2-3 times bigger than I need and take it in to make it look nice.
That's awesome. Well, Linda, thank you so much for being part of our show. It's been great having you on, and I know we'll probably see you again real soon. Y'all, everybody, give a big thumbs up for Linda Brattine coming on today, and thank you so much. We'll see you again.
All right, looking forward to it, Blaine. We'll talk to you later.
All righty, bye-bye. All right, everybody, let's tell you how you can get this Triumph. Now, here's the great thing about this. I know you look at it and go, wow, $49.99. But I'm telling you what, this is the last serger you'll ever buy. These things, as you know, Baby Lock's known for their technology and the reliability and just the quality. And this one is the top of the line. And I tell you what, they have poured all the technology into this. And again, guys, Baby Lock's been making sergers since 1967. I think they know what they're doing. $49.99. We have special financing, and there's a call-in special on this. So we have a couple of different packages available you can call in about. And again, we're going to ship this nationwide absolutely free. So if you've been dreaming of a Triumph, I'm telling you what, right now is the time to call because they do have some really good specials at the call center for you. Get on that phone right now, 800-401-8151. And I'm telling you right now, Kyle, quantities are limited for the pricing we got going on today.
Yes.
So y'all don't delay. Get on that phone and give them a call. All right, everybody. That concludes our Serger Soiree. Can you believe it's already over? It's already over. 4 days went by so fast.
It did, actually.
It went by so fast.
Yeah.
And so I think it's time. Does anybody got any questions about anything right now? Put them in the chat for Kyle. If you got any questions about anything you saw the last 4 days, or if you just had a question in general, go ahead and put it in the chat for us. And Nancy's saying, great 4 days. Well, I agree with you, Nancy. I thought it was really good. And you know what's awesome about when you get in, and I noticed this last year, in the Serger Soiree, when we do it, we actually showed a lot more sergers last year, and we had a lot more educators. But what I don't know if y'all noticed this, but every one of the educators that do sergers are just so good. I mean, there's not one weak person. They all, even I noticed that last year, just how talented all these ladies are that were on the show. They're just so good. They know those sergers so well, and you can tell that they use them a lot because of just how they talk about them and how they demonstrate them. So big kudos out to everybody who was on the show. Thank y'all so much for being on here and doing all the demonstrations. It was fantastic as usual. Went by so very fast. That's what Debbie said. Thanks, SMP. All right. So one thing I want to know, we've been talking about, Kyle and I had a conversation the other day about so we've got probably, would you say, Kyle, over 100 educators that we have dealt with through the years?
Oh, yeah.
And have been on our shows, probably over 100.
Altogether? Yeah, for sure.
And so there's so much talent out there. That's kind of what I'm getting to. Would y'all be interested if we did some virtual events that were paid? So like specialty type things. we could hire, like we could hire somebody like, Linda Brattine that was just on, and she would do like a 4-hour class on something, and we would try to make it very inexpensive for you to sign up for. But there's going to be a cost because she charges, we have to pay her and all that. But would y'all be interested in something like that? Put it in the chat right now if you would. I'd like to be interested to know, because we've been thinking about maybe trying to do a couple virtual events like that will be like a 4-hour class, and try to do those maybe like, a couple every month. And, because of all the great teachers we have out there, to get them to do that and just come up with all kinds of different contents. And the other thing, everybody's saying, yes, absolutely. Oh my gosh, that would be awesome. All right. So in the chat right now, why don't y'all put in some subjects that you would like, things that you might like to see in some of those events, because that would really help us out. And we're going to have to create all these. And so just kind of put in there some things that you would like to see happening. And my idea would be probably just like do a 1-day event that's a 4 hours, and you can sign up virtually and you can watch it from the comfort of your home. That'd be kind of cool, wouldn't it, Kyle?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I've been kind of thinking about for a while. And Kyle and I have had some conversations, and, I just said, man, we've got so many good educators that we could probably just get unlimited amounts of things to, subject matter. So, I would love for y'all to put some ideas in there for us. That would be great. And that's something that we kind of want to do. We want to start working on. And I'd like to try to get this launched fairly quickly, so you always can go to our website and kind of see what we've got each month going on, and then you can plan accordingly and all that. So Donna says, I would love class demonstrations for the different sergers, feet, and all.
Oh, sorry.
I don't remember what the last word was.
Serger feet, basically.
Okay.
All the different serger.
And then Sassy says, yes, a sew-along.
A lot of sew-alongs or
Sew-along.
project
Okay.
classes so far.
Project-based.
Yes.
Okay. So the other question I got for you, if we did a project-based, would y'all pay a little extra money to get a kit? Like, so if everybody would have the same kits and we would do a sew-along, you could follow the instructor. Tell me about that. What do y'all think? Serging, quilt piecing, garment construction.
That's probably a big one.
Garment construction.
Yeah.
I tell you who would be an unbelievable teacher for that. So anybody guess who I'm thinking about that would, for garment construction, who would just be fantastic for that teaching? Put it in the chat if you're thinking the same person I'm thinking, because y'all all know her.
A lot of garment, a lot of sew-along.
Okay, so sew-alongs.
And serger.
Kyle, we got to
Serger's
make these notes. So sew-alongs, garment sewing, garment construction.
A lot of serger as well. A lot of serger classes.
Doing a full quilt on a serger. That might take longer than 4 hours. Serger projects, something that is not just for beginners.
Yep. Presser foot education.
We might be able to talk to Barb Lewis and see if her class, we could make it somehow make it virtual too. That would be kind of cool. Let me tell you a little bit about the classes coming up. Now, the very first class that's coming up it's called Creative Serging, and that's going to be the one with Barb Lewis, and that's actually next weekend. It's the 18th and the 19th, right, Kyle?
Yep.
Okay, the 18th and 19th. And then on April the 25th and 26th is the 2-day beginning serging with Candace Trevina.
Yep.
So those are the ones we have. And it's kind of weird we're having the beginning after the advance, but most people would not take both, I wouldn't think. I think they would, but that's the only dates we had available. So those are at. So if you are local in Southern California and you want to come to those events, I think there's still some openings. I'm not sure, because they usually sell out pretty fast, but you could check either one of those to see if there's any openings. If you want to go check those out, just go to SewingMachinesPlus.com. Up at the very top of our page, there's a little bar. It says classes and events. You click on that and that'll take you to that page, and you can see the thumbnails. and click on those and see if there's any signups available. So, because they usually sell out the in-store events like that. But great feedback, everybody. Thank y'all for giving us that. That's something that Kyle and I can look at. We'll take some notes and see what we can do. And I'll probably send an email out to all the educators and just say, hey, give me what y'all got. Give me some ideas. Let them come up with some class ideas too that we could do. And we can start doing this. And so, and again, let me know in the chat right now if you would like to have a kit involved in it. So we would have to put a kit together and email it or ship it to you. And then you would just be a virtual class, and then you could do a sew along, I guess, along using that kit. So y'all give me some ideas like that too. What y'all think about that? All right, I think we are ready to give some stuff away today, Kyle.
Giveaways.
And again, thank y'all for joining in for the Serger Soiree for these 4 days.
Yeah.
It went by so fast. First thing we're going to do is we're going to give away a $25 gift card to SMP. And this is pretty cool because we're just going to email you a gift card code. And then when you purchase something, you can just put the code in the checkout. It'll take $25 off the purchase. Very easy. All right. And it doesn't even matter if it's on sale, Kyle. If it's already on sale and you get your best price, at the end, you just put the $25 in. It's just like we're just giving you a $25 bill, basically, to use. All right. Y'all want to do the segregated again? Y'all want to put a keyword in, or you just want us to draw in the whole general chat? Let me know in the chat right now if you want us to put words. They kind of tend to like that sometimes.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit. Let's see. Everyone just says spin. Keyword.
Keyword?
Yeah, there's a lot of keywords.
Let's do keyword in.
Right.
Let's have some fun today. What do y'all think? All right. So the day is Friday. So I want everybody to put Friday in the chat. Friday in the chat right now.
Just
and let's
like
see
that.
how many of y'all sign up for this. Because we had a few hundred people watching today. There's 300.
3 today. So.
300 right now. So we'll see how many people get in there. Boy, they're going by fast, Kyle. Already over 100 people
already.
have chatted Friday.
140, 150.
160.
Yeah.
It's going up fast. So today, let's have our goal 200. Let's see if we can get 200 people to write the word Friday in. And then Kyle's going to hit that wheel to spin. We're at 185, 190. We're getting there. Come on, 10 more people.
Couple more.
We're going to give you time to write Friday in the chat. We want to hit that number. 197, 198. Here we go. It's getting ready to hit. 200.
Hey.
Very good. All right. Who's going to get the $25 gift card is Living and Crafting with MS. Congratulations. You just won yourself a $25 gift card to SMP. And how you're going to claim that prize is you're going to go to smplive.tv. You're going to scroll down toward the bottom of that page where it says claim my prize. You're going to fill out all the information complete. Most importantly, make sure that email address is correct and hit submit. Once we get that in, we will email you back a gift card code. It's that simple. All righty, next up, we are going to give away one of our world famous sewing mats. Now there are 13 different colors. There's 4 sizes. However, we've got the 5th size, brand new ones we just released in the blue, gold, and red to fit all those massive, brand new, top-of-the-line machines in every brand. They fit them really well. So we're going to let you pick your color, your choice. So put the word mat in the chat right now if you want a chance to win one of these sew mats.
Like
Mat, M-A-T, in there. Let's see how many people can get in. We're shooting for 200 again.
Oh, I forgot my music.
Yeah, Kyle, you're jinxing us. Kyle didn't put on the
music.
spinning music. All right, we're at 150. It jumps up pretty quick. 180. Here we go. When we hit that 200, Kyle, hit that button. Got to be quick. I got a feeling it's getting ready to jump.
194. 197. One more. Bam.
There it is, 201.
There we go.
And the winner is Chris Yost. So congratulations, Chris. You just won yourself a sewing mat. And how you're going to claim that prize is you're going to go to SewingMachinesPlus.com, scroll down toward the bottom of the page where it says claim my prize, fill out all that information complete. And most importantly on that, in the little notes section, you're going to write in what color sew mat you want, what size. Hit submit. Once we get that in, we will get you a sew mat right to your doorstep, absolutely free. All right, next up, we are going to give away. Now, hold on. Before I tell them what it is, Kyle, I think we ought to make it a mystery. What do y'all think? A mystery giveaway today. And I think the key word is going to be Kyle, K-Y-L-E, since he's doing the spinning. So everybody put Kyle, K-Y-L-E, in the chat right now if you want to win our special mystery giveaway.
So you're going to pick a winner first.
I'm going to pick a winner first, and then I'm going to reveal what they want.
Okay.
I like that, Kyle.
Gotcha.
I like that.
100 people.
So we're at 100. Let's go. 130. Is that right?
175.
175. This is a good one too today.
That was fast.
It's not a P-touch. I'm just telling you right now, it's not a P-touch.
200.
200. Here we go. Bernadette Evans. We know that name. Bernadette's been around for a long time watching our show. Congratulations, Bernadette. You just won yourself a... Bam, Kyle. Look at that. A Viking H-Class E20 sewing machine. $350 sewing machine. And just in honor of Viking and Foff being on the show. And we're giving that sewing machine away. So Bernadette, you just won yourself the Viking sewing machine. Congratulations. And Bernadette, how you're going to claim that prize, you're going to go to SMPlive.tv. Scroll down toward the bottom of the page where it says claim my prize, fill out all that information complete, hit submit, and you got all you winners have 30 days to claim your prize. If you don't do it, Kyle's going to put it right back in the prize closet, and we'll give it away on another day, won't we, Kyle?
That's right.
All right, so there was our mystery giveaway for today. Guys, thank y'all so much for supporting SMP. And you know what? We love that you shop with us, even if you're just buying needles. Hey, everything you buy helps us, and we appreciate it. And again, if you haven't liked our Facebook page, go like our Facebook page. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, we would sure appreciate it. Give us that thumbs up. All those things really help us and enables us to keep giving things away on our shows. And so we do real appreciate the support. I hope that y'all have a great rest of your day. Have a great weekend, and we'll be back here next Thursday. Hope to see you then. All right, everybody, you're still here. Kyle, they're still watching. You know what we do when we do this sometimes? My wife loves me to do this. Michelle goes, you need to come back on and give something away. We're going to do that. We're going to give another giveaway. We're going to give away a Brother P-Touch label maker. And now you don't even have to put a keyword in. Everybody who's watching will be entered. Just do some sort of chat right now to make sure you are in there, and just say hi. We'll see how many people. I guess we do need to put a keyword, don't we, Kyle? It will work without it? Okay, we didn't know. You don't have to put anything in. All right, we're going to give a P-Touch away. Kyle, spin that wheel. There was still over 200, wasn't there, watching? Yeah, we still had 200 people watching. In 60. I Quilt 2 is our winner. You just won yourself a P-Touch label maker. So what we need you to do to claim that prize, go to smplive.tv, scroll down toward the bottom of the page where it says claim my prize, fill out all that information complete, hit submit, and we'll not only send you a P-Touch worth $130, we're going to send you $100 worth of the tape that goes in it for a great package. So congratulations. All right, we are for real out of here this time. See y'all Thursday next week.